Have you ever been lying in bed, about to fall asleep? Your eyes start closing and you start drifting off into la la land. And then, all of a sudden, bam! The most atrociously embarrassing moment of your entire life springs out of the blue to haunt you once more, and you jolt out of your slumber like a demon just got exorcised from your body. You wake up in a cold sweat, you can't breathe, and you look around reliving the memory. Well, if you answered no, you're a goddamn liar. And God hates liars. So I'll be waving down to you while I'm sitting up in heaven with J-Man himself. But fret not, my child, for I'm not completely perfect either. Yes, unfortunately, I too am plagued by a horrendously embarrassing memory of my life too. Such an atrocious moment in my life that almost a decade later, it still causes me to lose sleep, and it dictated the way I lived my life ever since. One so bad that I've only ever had the guts to tell one other soul in my entire life. So, I thought today I'd tell you guys this tale. So strap your seatbelts, because I'm about to read to you guys from the forbidden scripture. But first, let me set the scene. I can't remember the year, how old I was, the date, or the time. But I can remember I was in 3rd grade. And I was just a young man at the time, somewhere around 10, maybe a little bit older. And what I'm about to tell you is going to shock you to your very core. I wouldn't be surprised if some of you guys have to go on an inhaler for a little while because you're hyperventilating so much to the surprise of what I'm about to tell you. I was not always the marvelous ladies' man I am today. Yes, I know. Take a seat if you want to, or if you need to. I was not always the sharp cougar lady killer I am today. I was not always this enchanting of a man. I too was once a simple plebeian, just like you, no offense. But I was around halfway through my 3rd year of elementary school, and I had just gotten accepted into band, and everything was looking up. And then, the new girl arrived into our classroom. For right now, we'll call her A, because I can't think of anything else. But now that you know the scene, let's get into the juicy details. I remember the day that A arrived at our class. She walked in the door and it was like a scene from a movie. I was captivated by her beauty the moment she stepped into that door and walked past that chalkboard. Everything was in slow motion. The wind was blowing through her hair and I was starstruck. It was like a sailor seeing a mermaid for the first time just before she lured him in and he crashed into a rock and drowned. And boy oh boy, was I gonna drown. Like a moth to a flame or a pit bull to an unattended toddler's arm. I was crushing hard. And keep in mind, I was in 3rd grade. So I had no idea what to do about that. All I knew was I wanted to go out with her. But I had no idea how to go about doing it. I didn't know anything. I felt like a kid lost in Walmart, looking for answers. So I started thinking and hatching a plan on how I was gonna go about it. If only I had a time machine, so I could go back and see how goofy I must have looked, drawing up schematics in my bedroom on a 5-step plan on how I was going to get her to fall for me. And trust me, I was pulling out the big guns. I was like a warlock making a love potion in my room, or a caveman inventing fire. I was so proud of myself, I even considered telling my mom, to which I didn't, because I was embarrassed. But only if I did, my mother could have saved me from years of embarrassment. But I stayed up all night that night, making that plan. And school was the next morning, so I was running on E the next day. But the night before, I had put together the best outfit I possibly could. And looking back on it, it was horrible. I took one of my mother's chains to put around my neck because I thought it made me look cool. I put on a button-up shirt, put on a pair of khakis with a belt. I literally looked like the dude that said sorry I had to do it to him. and I was feeling unstoppable. The testosterone was coursing through my veins, and I was ready to fight a lion to impress her. And then I grabbed some deodorant, but not just any deodorant. No, I grabbed the fabled Axe body spray and cologne and deodorant. And to top it all off, I washed my hair with some Axe body wash. No, not shampoo. I remember specifically using the body wash to wash my hair because it smelled nice. I had the confidence of a Roman king. I was ready to tackle the day with my hands tied behind my back. I was ready. I remember specifically practicing the lines I was going to say to her in my room to myself in the mirror. And boy oh boy did I have quite the lines to tell her. I knew for a fact there was no way she would be able to resist me. And so I embarked on my quest and started my way to school. I can only imagine how goofy I must have looked, walking down my street with my chest puffed out, my arms behind my back, and a hip swing that would make your grandmother pass out. I could probably tell somebody I was the president of the United States of America, and they would start saluting. And when I arrived at school, I remember checking in at the office and walking to my classroom, to which my teacher was greeting every student that walked into class. And I'm around 50% sure when I showed up, she laughed at me. Whether she laughed at me because I looked so ridiculous or because my effects was so strong that it was even working on the teacher. I went to my seat and I sat down. I had a ridiculous amount of cologne and deodorant on, so much to the fact that if you were allergic to it, if you came within a mile radius of me, you would probably drop dead on the spot. A ridiculous amount. But I thought it was amazing. I sat down in my chair, grabbed my notebook, and started writing down the words of the day. And then after that, it gets a little bit blurry. But then she arrived, looking as beautiful as ever to my young self. And I was ecstatic. I stared at her, and I gave her the old grin, and she looked at me and smiled back and went to her chair. And I thought, God, I wonder if she's gonna plan the marriage or me, because I thought it was game over for her. I thought that I had already won, but boy oh boy was I about to get lucky, because my teacher announced that today we were going to be reassigning seats. We were on opposite sides of the classroom, and then she made us all stand up by the chalkboard and one by one pointed us to new seats. And boy oh boy, if old lady fate wasn't on my side that day. We got put right next to each other. And then I don't know if some of the body wash seeped into my scalp and got into my cerebral cortex. All of that confidence was quickly dwindling and I had forgot everything I practiced. But fret not, because I had a backup plan, which was to improvise. I was going to improvise everything, and I was still confident, so I hyped myself back up. And when we sat down next to each other, I remember I turned to her and I was like, hey, what's going on? And I was ecstatic that I didn't stutter and I kept my cool. And on the inside, I did a little boogie down. I did a little dance, you know, a Fortnite default dance in my soul. And she looked at me and said hi. And we started talking. And it was going pretty smooth until she started getting uninterested in what I had to say. And I had no idea what to do. So I kept on trying. And this is where the memory starts to haunt me. Every time she would try to leave the conversation, I would pull it right back in. And I could tell she was getting annoyed. But at the moment, I couldn't. Because all I could think of was, God, she must want to get married right now. I was wondering if she was already planning out our future. But by the time I realized that she didn't want to talk to me anymore, it was too late. I had played all my cards. But one. The deodorant. And this is probably the worst part of the story. I looked over at her in panic, trying to revive the conversation, and said, "Hey, do you know that I'm wearing cologne?" And she said, "Oh, that's great." I said, "Yeah, it's Axe cologne." And she said, "Oh, okay, cool." Went back to doing her work. And I don't know what went through my head next. All my neurons shot off at once, and I committed a heinous act. In sheer panic, I said, "Here, you want to smell?" And I leaned in and lifted up my arm so she could smell my armpit. And to my surprise, probably as well as yours, she leaned back in her chair to get away from me and said, "No, I'm good," and made a gross face. Now, honestly, I think she must have been having a bad day or something. Cause there was no way that move didn't work. I mean, come on, that is probably the smoothest thing any human has ever done in their entire life. I didn't realize what I had just done until I got home. I thought I killed it. I thought that I was gonna go in the next day and she was gonna leave a note on my table asking me to go out. I thought that the victory was in my clutches. And then I got home and I lied in bed and came to the realization that I blew it. And as if it couldn't get any worse, when I showed up to school the next day, she had the teacher change her spot. And that was it. I was broken. That was the first time in my life that life really picked me up by my feet, shook me around and took all my lunch money, beat me down to a pulp. But I deserved it, and I needed it. Because without that embarrassing moment, I would never be able to be the lady killer I am today. And so the curtains close on this wondrous story. And I hope you guys realize how much courage it took for me to tell you guys that. I was shaking around in my chair, flopping around like a fish out of water, trying to get myself to tell you guys the end of it. And you may be thinking, no, that wasn't that bad. But to me, there is nothing worse. A young me blew my chances with my crush by trying to get her to smell my armpit. If that isn't poetic, I don't know what is. But looks like we're coming to the end here, so I guess we're gonna wrap things up. Let's see if we can get 25 likes on this video. Let me know if you guys have any embarrassing stories as well. I'm thinking about making this a little series on the channel called Storytime Sunday, depending on how well this video does. If you guys enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments so I know if I should make another one of these, because I am a man of many stories. I have many good, bad, and sad stories, and downright goofy ones as well. But I hope you guys got a laugh out of my pain and suffering, because I sure didn't. And now I'm sure I'll be remembering this for the rest of the week. But I guess we're coming to the end here, so I'm going to wrap things up. I hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah. Catch you guys in the next one.
Wow.